today I'm going to do kind of like a quick review and not really summarization because I don't want to talk about the details of it, so in case you want to watch it for yourself, but we're going to be talking about the Star Wars Rebels cartoon. Now I'm not exactly sure when this cartoon aired. I'm lazy, I didn't look it up, but it went for 4 seasons. The first 3 were full seasons of like 24 episodes or something like that, and then the last one was only like 13 or I think 15 episodes total. Now this show is really, really good. I started it with like, just cause really there was something to watch. Not because I went out of my way to find it or anything. And I was pleasantly surprised. I really enjoyed it. In a lot of ways, I think I enjoyed it more than the Star Wars Clone Wars cartoon, which is kind of ironic. Which season 7 is still premiering right now. I think they're on episode, I want to say 9, with 10 coming out this week as a date of recording, and this is Monday. So a new episode coming this week. So far, I think season 7 is, it's not bad. It's okay. I was talking to one of my friends the other day, and I said it was a valley, because it started off really good, and then it dipped, and then it's looking like it's going to end on a pretty strong note. So, but we'll get to that more when the season finishes. I'll do like a season or a series overview, and we'll talk about it. Back on track, we're talking about Star Wars Rebels. Really interesting. I really like it. Prior to this, looks like it premiered on Disney XD, and I don't know if you guys can see that. Just quick Google image search of Star Wars Rebels, because I just wanted to show something so it wasn't just me talking this whole time. So my first exposure to these characters was actually the mobile game Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. The Phoenix Squadron, which is basically their team name, is like one of the go-to teams when you first start playing that game. So I was like, okay, yeah, cool. And they're pretty fun. They're a really good team in that game, and we'll talk about that more later once I actually get my PC built and stuff like that, and I'm able to stream those kinds of games and things like that. I'll kind of show off what I've done with them. So back on track. The characters are really cool. At first, it's kind of like just pretty generic stuff, but over time, they do a really good job developing these characters pretty well. We'll kind of briefly go over like the characters. So Kanan Jarrus, let's go over to this picture really quick. He's this guy right here, the taller dude with the beard. He is a Jedi Padawan that survived Order 66, and he's been running around with Hera Syndulla, the green alien, on the left side, I believe, or right side if you're watching the video, I think. Anyway, so the green alien, and then Sabine Wren, I'm just gonna hold this up for a second, is all the way to the left holding the helmet. She's a Mandalorian from Mandalore, and then the big purple alien dude is Zeb, the droid, a little astromech towards the bottom of the picture. That's Chopper, and then the guy all the way to the other side with the green lightsaber, that is Ezra Bridger. So pretty cool, or pretty interesting little group of characters. If you've ever seen the Clone Wars cartoon, at some point, I'm not going to say when, the Darksaber actually comes into the Rebels cartoon, and Sabine, has to gain control of it and go back to Mandalore and like just all kinds of craziness. So I think this one does a better job fleshing out the Mandalorians a little bit more, at least in relation to the Mandalorian TV show, because it talks about, and it doesn't show anything, but it talks about a lot more about the Empire and what happens, like, because the Mandalorians for the most part got swept into the Empire, and there was only like, I think maybe 2 clans of the Mandalores that were like not part of the Empire, and it kind of it's really interesting, and I think it did a better job exploring the Mandalore lore, if that works. It did a better job than the actual Clone Wars cartoon, because I was watching the Clone Wars cartoon and I was like, okay, there are things taking place on Mandalore, but nothing even close to what is referenced during the Mandalorian show. So it's like okay, but like, you know, it's just like, it's in the Clone Wars cartoon, but if you really want to know more about Mandalore and the Mandalorians and like what happened to them and things like that, Rebels is where you want to go. Now I'm sure there's books or comics or extended lore somewhere, or Legends content maybe, that go over like the actual fall of, or what is it? I think it's called the Purge of the Mandalorians or whatever. I'm sure there's extra stuff for that, but if you just want like something to sit down and watch, this is like the go-to that I found, at least. It's really interesting story. It's So I have a problem with things taking place in the past of an established story. For example, Rogue One, I didn't like. I didn't think it was good. I didn't think it was necessary. Same thing with Solo, and yeah, those are the only two offshoots. But I didn't like either. Excuse me, either of those. Because like Rogue One, you know what happens to the team, so you're just kind of watching it for nothing really. I mean, you know what the end result is. And then Han Solo was just like, nobody asked for that. I mean, maybe somebody did somewhere, but like overall, I mean, it's proven by like how much of a failure it was that it publicly it wasn't, nobody really wanted it. So typically, like I said, I have a problem with things taking place in the past of an established story, but this one is pretty fun because it's not like Rogue One where it directly plays into something. It's its own story and it's all self-contained. And more or less, I can't remember how many years, it might be like, I don't know, 8 years after Revenge of the Sith or something like that. Maybe it's not as long, maybe like 3 or 4 years. I'm not entirely sure, but so it takes place after that, and this is more or less a story of how multiple cells, right, of people that didn't agree with the Empire learned to come together and form the rebellion, which is pretty interesting. The only story that we've been exposed to prior to this that explored something like that, I think personally, is The Force Unleashed. If you chose the good guy ending of the first one, then it shows, I think it's Princess Leia and Senator Organa like wiping off the rebel emblem off of a table that was, I think, his homeworld or something like that. I can't remember exactly, but that's the only time I've ever seen anything that was like, this is how the rebellion started. Again, not counting like legends or books or whatever. So it's pretty interesting. It's pretty cool to see that too. There's a couple references, I believe, in The Rise of Skywalker, the new Star Wars movie. Towards the end of the battle, when there's all those ships in the sky, apparently you can see the Ghost, which is like the home and primary transportation for our little group of rebels. And that's pretty interesting. So moving forward, like I said, I'm not going to get too much into story stuff because this is a really, really good story, and I encourage everybody to check it out. It's on Disney Plus, the whole series, all 4 seasons, and it's in pretty good quality too. There is a bit of an animation shift if you go from the Clone Wars to this cartoon, but it's not bad. Like it's just noticeably different, and it's very. I couldn't even put my finger on what exactly is different about it, but I was like, whatever. So season 1 is pretty interesting, or I guess not really. It's the developmental season, right? So they just want to introduce the characters, a little bit of backstory to get you to care about those characters, and then developing them as a team. So originally it's just the 5, counting the droid, and everybody except Ezra. Ezra they pick up along the way in the first couple of episodes or so, and then moving from there, they just develop as a team. They introduce more people in the galaxy, like various characters that become recurring. There's only a handful of characters from the bigger Star Wars universe that make appearances, like Senator Organa, of course, because he ends up being key in like the rebels and their coordination and really the rebellion in general, if we're gonna be honest. And then I think Leia's in 1 or 2 episodes. Lando's in an episode or 2. I think that's it. They never bring in Han or Chewie. Luke has a very, 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 very like small cameo, and if you can even call it that, really. Obi-Wan is in like maybe 2 episodes, if that. And then I think that's pretty much it as far as the bigger characters, without revealing like spoilers for villains or anything like that. So season 1 is, like I said, it's a good establishing season. Sometimes you get those establishing seasons that are just kind of like cut and dry. Every episode they're just fighting some one-off villain or whatever. But Rebels cartoon actually did a pretty good job of keeping you engaged. Even if you didn't care about the story that was happening, you cared about the character interactions and like the development. And so props to them on that. Season 1, they fight the Grand Inquisitor, and that's pretty cool. That fight ends up being really, really sweet. You get some pretty cool action shots, and there's some pretty good like overall in the show. There's very good like Force lore, like there's throwback quotes and just stuff like that. It's really, really cool. So season 2, the ending, without giving spoilers, an enemy from the past returns and causes some havoc, and then that's your first, or I think it's the last time you see Vader in the show, actually. So that's pretty interesting. There's more Inquisitors. It's really, really cool. and every season ends with like some pretty big stuff going on, so you know that things are going to be different this season going forward, which I really like. I love how they can end a season self-contained but still setting up for the future, but not like directly, if you know what I'm trying to say. So like they ended this season, but you can tell they have like a plan and something they want to go for in the next one, but there's nothing direct. So that's pretty cool. I really like that. Season 3 ends in like the crappiest way possible. It's like everything hits the fan and it looks like it's done. like it's game over. So season 4 was really short. Now there was a lot of things I didn't like about it. Some of the things I can understand why they did it. But overall it was kind of like, okay, but this seems like kind of a rush, especially the very ending with some of the characters. Yeah, I don't want to talk about spoilers, but I didn't care too much about the ending, but maybe so that it's been rumored and I think confirmed that there's a Rebels sequel cartoon coming out later this year. And if that's true, then the way that they left off the series, they can definitely pick it up. And if they wanted to do, I don't want to talk about spoilers, but they could definitely do it. And if they did it, I'd give it a shot. I think if they kept it going with what they established and they didn't try to do anything stupid or just weird like they're doing with season 7 of Clone Wars, then I'm there for it. Like, keep the story going, explore this guy and what happened to him, and we're golden. Really solid. There's no like undertones of like SJW-ish kind of things or anything like that. It's just a really solid story with some characters you can dig. And I'm looking forward to the potential sequel cartoon if that is a real thing, and if not, then I'll keep playing my games that they're in, because they're also in the, I believe it was Disney Infinity 3. They're playable characters if you get the little figures or whatever. I know that game's discontinued, but if you find it cheap or whatever, you want to play some Star Wars characters and all that kind of stuff, then there you go. With that being said, I think this is going to wrap it up. I should be releasing this video on Friday, and then after that, we'll see where it goes. I've got some comic books lined up. I've got some games I can talk about. Recently started playing Far Cry 3 Remastered, so we'll probably talk about that, and maybe even just the whole Far Cry series as a whole. That sounds like a fun video. I'd probably do a part 1 and part 2 on that. If you watched the video and you made it to the end, thank you so much. I'm trying to cut these videos down so they're not as long, because typically the audience will be, you're more likely to stick around if the video's shorter. I mean, I'm not monetized or anything, so I don't need to hit a 10-minute mark. Sometimes I just ramble too much. So again, if you made it to the end, thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.